Someday I still intend to do vocal training. I think that'd be the coolest thing. It's good. It's good. Hello, everyone. Welcome to GT Time. I'm your moderator, Kyle Bossman, and joining us, as always, is our uniquely talented and knowledgeable panel, including Brandon Jones,
Woohoo!
Daniel Bloodworth,
Hey.
and in the super seat, Michael Huber.
Greetings.
Greetings. Great call there. Michael Huber,
Yes.
you're in the super seat this week.
Yes.
This round of super seats, we're asking everyone to tell us about the last time they've had a great idea. Huber, will you tell us about the last time you had a great idea?
That's easy. It's on my mind, actually.
Whoa, okay.
The great idea was sitting down to 100% Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze. Haven't had this much fun since I can't even remember. Maybe Galaxy 2.
My question is, when did you decide you're 100%ing this?
After like the first two stages, when I couldn't get the smile off my face when I was going through the levels. Just couldn't stop smiling.
So, if I understand correctly, the last time you had a great idea, it was just to play a video game.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Because it jumped up in my backlog. You know, I've been going through Kingdom Hearts. I've put Alien Isolation on the shelf for like 5 months.
Yeah.
You don't feel the weight of that, Kyle? You look at that stack of games that you need to play, and it's
It terrifies me. Yeah.
Oh, no.
It's terrifying.
Yeah.
Completely.
Tropical
I
Freeze?
feel underwater.
Went right on top.
Yeah.
It's a great idea.
That's so exciting to me.
Yeah.
We'll do a Just Play. We'll talk about it.
It's coming.
Yeah.
We'll cover it.
Please keep that under 15 minutes. Get that timer on there.
That is going to be a half hour of Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze. Fans only. Let's talk about corrections from last week. Nope, before we do, Daniel Bloodworth wants to talk about a little thing that's on our table
A little
today.
thing on our table. A few weeks back, probably about a month and a half ago now, we were talking about Amiibo, and I was complaining because I'm not a collector. I'm not going to pay even double what an Amiibo is worth.
Hunter.
Right? I'm not out to get every one of them. I want a couple that I like. You know, I want a Toad, I want a Sheik, and someone in Austria sent me a Sheik after they heard that. So that was very nice. Thank you guys.
This Sheik comes from Austria, is what you're saying.
Who sent you it?
So the guy who actually sent it to me, I don't know his name because the guy on Twitter was just, he was saying, my friend will send this.
So he facilitated this thing.
Yeah.
Cool.
So, but yeah, that was great. And you don't have to send me things if you hear me talk about them on the show. But
You
thank
heard
you for
Blood
doing
say
that.
he wants a Toad and a Sheik. It sounds like the next thing you got to do is send him a Toad.
I don't see no Toad there. I just see Sheik.
Well, the Toad's not out yet, right?
Toad is not out
That's
yet.
the Mario Party set.
Yeah.
And I don't think it'll be that rare, hopefully.
See, Toad is not a popular character. He's going to be rare. Toad is probably going to be the rarest of the new bunch.
Because you make a rare out of the other. You have to balance those.
Yeah.
Like you have they have a lot of power over what they decide to just like. I remember when the Star Wars Kenner was re-released, it was like Leia was the rare. It was like, okay. Leia of all things. Like,
When are we going to get a Darth Vader amiibo?
Never.
Be a long
Ever
time.
going to
that'll
happen?
be a while.
Oh, it'll be an Infinity figure.
Yeah.
No, yeah.
Really soon.
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah, that'll probably be by the end of the year,
That's
right?
what I meant.
Yeah.
I was so excited to get Grand Moff Tarkin. They made that action figure. I'm like, yeah, that's the one I want. Loved that action figure. Let's talk about corrections from last week. Begin corrections music. Lots of Games with Gold things. Here's how Games with Gold for Xbox Live works. Every month, usually you get two Xbox 360 games and one Xbox One game. However, that one Xbox One game lasts for 2 months. So if you start today, you would get 2 months of Xbox One games, basically.
So that's why it looked like 2 and 2.
Yeah, exactly. BioShock Infinite and Tomb Raider were available on PlayStation Plus in February and March of last year. That was more of a clarification. So that's kind of funny. That lasted a year on PlayStation Plus, and then they showed up on the Xbox 360 a year later.
Yeah, I don't know if lasting a year is quite the right way to put it because they're still only available for a month. But yeah, I actually just mentioned that the other day because I looked through this month's PS Plus games and it was like, these are all really good games that I haven't played yet. And I'm like, how am I supposed to play all these games like we were just talking about with the backlog?
Yeah.
And then I looked at the Xbox ones and like, I wasn't gonna wait to play those games. Like I played all of them. So in a way, it's like PlayStation, at least this month, did a better job of pointing out stuff that you would have
Is
otherwise
obscure?
missed. Yeah.
I guess I see what you're saying.
Like they're still good games, but you probably didn't jump on them day one.
Yeah, at the same time, I mean, a year ago, there was Bioshock Infinite and Tomb Raider.
Yeah.
You know, none of the games, they did release 4 games this month, and none of them are on that level, I would say, of what they were, what Tomb Raider meant to us a year ago. Anyway, Xbox Live Gold is already back to $60. That was a very temporary price cut.
Whoa.
Yeah. Very, very temporary. That's back up to 60. Sorry if you missed out on that. Sorry if a little misreporting from GT Time caused you to think that may have been a more long-term situation. The Order 1886 soundtrack is indeed an app on the PS4, but from it you can export the whole soundtrack to a USB key, all in MP3 format, and
Nice.
corrections music. Also, this isn't really a correction or a clarification. A lot of people love Pokemon Shuffle and wanted us to know that.
I definitely find it addicting, but
Now, there's free-to-play games I've played on
Love.
mobile that I'm like ashamed to play. I'm like, I can't believe.
You know what was shocking to me is when Pactor was tweeting about how he is at max level of Candy Crush. And I wanted to tweet at him just like, hey, play Link's Awakening. Just give it a shot.
But that's commitment. It's a whole different. It's a whole different vibe.
He's on level 860 something of Candy Crush.
But he never gets those. The way Pactor's lifestyle set up, he never gets those Link's Awakening moments. Like he can't factor that time. You know.
Yeah.
Like I'm having that happen now, where like I'll go like 2 weeks by, and it's like, man, I did that whole 2 weeks, unless I had to review something for work, unless it's like, no, I got to do this for an episode of something. I just don't have like 4 hours to like. That's why I played Dragon Age yet, because it's like, when do I really like invest in that?
dude.
What
Dragon
was
Age.
what was the PC game Pactor was obsessed with?
Backyard Monsters.
Yeah, dude, well done.
Because I played that on Facebook.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
like, I'm right there with you, Pactor. It's great.
Yeah. I bet he hasn't quit. I bet he's still in there,
Yeah.
wailing it up. Let's talk about news. It's been GDC this week. And
Awesome GDC.
There is so much news that as moderator, I'm very nervous about this episode. I got to keep everyone on point.
Okay.
We cannot linger on any of these news stories.
Fast and rigid.
Fast and rigid is what GT Time will be this week, because GDC is huge. GDC is a game developers conference. It is held in San Francisco
Yep.
throughout this week, and maybe weekend. I guess people will linger around.
oh,
But
PAX East is this weekend. There's people already kind of jumping ship.
already moving.
Yeah.
Dang.
Just
it's a
stopping
crazy week.
by.
So there's going to be more news that's already happening, probably by the time you listen to this, from PAX East.
You got old news.
Oh boy, what a crazy madcap week. Let's start with, as I always like to do, game announcements. Rock Band 4 was officially announced this week.
Yeah.
Brandon is applauding, if that
Yeah.
was inaudible to you. A very soft applause. Why are you excited about that?
Good on them to go for it, to make another Rock Band, because they're really excited. It's a passion project. I'm working on something right now, Kyle, that you said that's a passion project. That's why I'm excited about that. And it's the same thing. It's like there's no way they're making Rock Band 4 for any other reason than they're just really excited to do that.
They stockpiled all their Dance Central money, and they're ready.
I know
What's
exactly
super
what you're
funny
gonna
is listening to this trailer,
say. Yep.
I can relate to a lot of them because they talked about their MTV years.
Right?
Oh, I thought you were going to talk about the end of it.
Yeah, they say MTV has had a lot of ideas for what we should be, and a lot of them were helpful, but now we can do what we want. And I'm like, oh, I can relate to that. I can strongly relate to that. That was funny. Basically, what I want to talk about, Huber, actually, talk about this thing that you wanted to talk about.
The end of the thing.
What happens at the end of this trailer?
He says,
This announcement trailer. This 5.5 minute trailer.
yeah, everyone's like really talking about the creative side. You know, the whole trailer though is a sense of uneasiness.
Why?
Almost like they're not sure of themselves. That was the vibe I got in this.
Well, it's
I
a
don't know
nervous
why.
kind of trailer.
Yeah. And then it just ends with him saying, I hope it does really well.
The end is very somber. Yeah.
Yes.
So
Very funny to make an almost Kickstarter-ish appeal at the
Yeah.
end of your announcement trailer for Rock Band 4. Yeah, I get that. That's a funny thing. I wanted to pull a comment that I liked from last week from 60 FPS Steve. I keep hearing that nobody is going to play a new Rock Band, which is true for our generation. But I'm sure that there's a whole new generation of college students that enjoy it the same way that we got to enjoy it the first time around. Do you feel that way? Do you feel like, hey, maybe we're a little down on it, but this will be huge into a newer generation?
It depends. More than any other game I can think of that's coming out, this all depends on like what Rock Bands you've owned, what equipment you own, what your investment is.
What if you
Like,
own none of that? You're just going to college right now.
Then that that's going to be the big question, is like how much will you have to invest? Like, you know, like what is that priced at now? I don't know. Like 2 guitars, drums,
It's going to be very
and
expensive.
And
very expensive.
two guitars, drums, keyboard, and mic.
Keyboard's
and a mic
out.
stand.
They took out the keyboard. Keyboard would not
For
appear
sure?
in Rock Band 4. Yep.
Oh, okay.
And neither will the Pro guitar, so you can't plug in the crazy one with real strings. They don't
Right.
want that anymore in the game.
You got to get some friends to
all
chip
get,
in
like, one
together.
piece
You
of
know,
it.
each person.
That's how I did it in college. Actually,
Yep.
we all chipped in. And I got the keyboard. But you know what's funny is it's got a MIDI out. I still use that keyboard up on my computer.
Oh, nice.
It's a nice little like guitar, actually. Yeah, that's not bad. Actually, so I did want to talk about how it's pared down. They took out the keyboard. They took out the Pro guitar. This will only appear on Xbox One and PlayStation 4, not even PC.
So this is interesting because none of this information was in the trailer.
Yeah, I know. No,
Like,
that's
why
that's
did-
like
why
that's
didn't
like
you
my
talk
new
about
that's like
that?
my new obsession. Yeah, about have them being like, well, you know, for the announcement, we want to do a separate thing. It's like
Yeah.
get it all in there. If you're going on for 6 minutes, you know, like get it in there.
I don't know.
We'll talk about this more next week.
I'd
Yeah.
argue against that. Yeah, we'll talk about it on our trailer show. But in this case, in announcing your game, that is not on PC is bad news. And you don't want to just be, I don't think you want to put that in your trailer, to be honest. I don't think you want bad news in your trailer. I don't think you want to say, hey, you have a little guitar and you love it? Bad news, it's not in this game. I don't think you want to communicate that. Because it wasn't a Q&A, like was attached to their PR and all that. Do you think it's a good idea it's pared back, though? Do you think it's the right idea to, instead of like, it's going to be bigger than any other games, for Rock Band 4 to be like, actually, we're going to scale this back a little bit?
I think instrument-wise, yes, because I think again, there's not as many people that have the keyboards. Tons of people have guitars. I'm sure there's tons of guitars at freaking Goodwill or whatever, you know. And if they are able to continue making all that stuff compatible, then it will be pretty easy to get that stuff some way or another. I'm sure GameStop is probably looking. It's like, where can we get some used guitars? We'll start selling them. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how people like really respond to it.
Eber, what's your Rock Band instrument? What do you play?
drums.
Nice.
Oh, we got a drummer.
Brandon, what do you play?
Guitar and vocals.
Oh, imagine Brandon singing in Rock
Oh,
Band.
Yeah, man.
Sweet Serenade.
Blood, what do you play?
I mean, I'm not great at anything. I mean, I'm probably guitar or bass. So
I could see blood on the bass.
Blood
Just
on the
cool
bass. Yeah, he's got the strap real low.
Yeah, real low.
So we got another game announcement this week. Wolfenstein: The Old Blood. What this game is, it's a $20 by itself standalone game exploring the world of Wolfenstein previously in the timeline, basically.
Pumped.
I see a lot of pumped faces
So pumped.
on the couch right now.
Oh.
Huber, why are you pumped?
First of all, I love a good prequel.
Love a good prequel.
Really?
You don't know this is a good
I feel
prequel
like
yet?
I feel like
I
prequels have
love
been pretty
dive.
bad.
I love where it is. It's in the timeline. You know, seeing the world before the eventual takeover of the Nazis, and just the shenanigans of that trailer. It just seemed a little more wild.
Describe some shenanigans for anyone who hasn't seen it.
Just he's stabbing people in the neck with pipes. The end of the trailer, he's sawing off a shotgun as this guy is falling through the floorboards on fire. There were flamethrower enemies. It just seems a little more arcadey.
Arcadey.
Yeah, just out of control. I wouldn't be surprised to see some kind of Bulletstorm combo meter show up or something.
No. No, I would be not hyped if that happened. Brandon, why are you excited about this?
I love that it's getting back to the basics. Like, I wonder what's called Old Blood specifically. That it's like, you know, really focusing on Castle Wolfenstein, like really
Yeah.
focusing on like just the kind of like the Gothic style of the classic games. And I love that it's standalone. I didn't know that. Again, something that I didn't really get from the trailer. I don't know if they say that specifically in that piece of media.
No, you're right. That is actually really important to communicate.
Right.
You don't need the old game to play this, basically, is very important.
And the story was really great in Shooter. Like we had a crazy, you know, knife fight with Game of the Year awards
Yeah, it
between
was
Far
getting
Cry 4
heated.
and Wolfenstein. And I could have easily been on the other side and argued against Far Cry 4 because like Wolfenstein was so good. And one of the best parts of that game were the story. And so if they have like a smaller thing that they can focus on and like maybe like toss out some last minute ideas that they had that they maybe couldn't squeeze into the original game, and like just you know, so I'm curious how that story happens, what they can do in that short amount of time with the way they told the story in Wolfenstein.
Blood, are you surprised we don't see more things like this? A $20 standalone like prequel or sequel to games?
I am, because I feel like it's done really well for Infamous. I'm curious to see how Sid Meier's Starships does. It's
Blood Dragon.
Blood Dragon.
you
Oh
remember
my
when this-
gosh, it's so good.
Remember when
Yeah.
this first started too? Do you remember Dead Rising 2 Case Zero?
Yeah.
But that was before the game.
Yeah, it was before the game. It was $5.
Yeah.
And it just, I feel like this isn't explored enough. They don't do.
It's so weird.
Well, they had the Alan Wake thing, which wasn't that great, actually.
Okay.
But I don't know if that was standalone. Was that an expansion?
that was standalone.
There's
was
Metal
standalone.
Gear Solid
American
5
Nightmare.
Ground Zeroes in a way.
Oh,
Yeah.
and
that was
we
great.
go.
I love that.
No, but I mean, it's the same kind of concept though, because it's like you're taking the core of the same game that you're already making one way or another, whether it's coming out or whether it's already come out, and you're giving people a taste of that for lower cost. So in a way, like, it kind of treads on the sense of a demo, but it's more significant than a demo because you're not going to repeat something, and you've got this whole, like, you've got a nice chunk to say, it's like, oh, I like this. Now maybe I'll check out that other game that just came out or that's going to come out that's a lot bigger and costs a little bit more money.
Yeah, I feel like it's the perfect solution to annualized sequels, because it's like, hey, I know that engines are expensive and animations are expensive and all of these assets that you've created for games are expensive. Here's a really good way to use it without charging $60 for it. It excites me out of my mind. I just wish more games would do that.
It's also fun, too, if you really go out of left field, like you do a Blood Dragon, where people are kind of
Yes.
like, whoa, this is strange because it's so unusual, yet at the same time is speaking to me. You know, somebody like Just Cause 3 would be a great game to have something like that, you know, just or something that just has a really great engine. I think gameplay is like a huge part of it, where it's like, as long as you have a strong gameplay core, where it's like, oh, this is really fun, like Infamous. It's like, wow, this is really fun. I just wish I had more of it.
Yeah, what if Just Cause 3 and like everyone's like a vampire?
I mean, yeah, Undead Nightmares, like one of the best. But that wasn't standalone. That was just an expansion. But
Yeah,
still.
but that's what I mean. Like,
Did they ever sell Undead Nightmare by itself?
Yeah, they did.
I remember seeing that in stores.
They did.
Like,
There was a box of
on its
it.
own disc. Oh, man.
I think it came with that and the Red Dead multiplayer.
And in the odd instance, like I imagine, like the most of the purchasing base is people that like I played Far Cry 3, and so yeah, I'll play more Far Cry. But like you do have that one person who's like, I didn't have a lot of time for Far Cry 3, but all my friends kept talking about it, and then hey, here's this cheap thing that I can just jump into and get on its own, and then play that, and then that's so damn good, and oh great, now I gotta buy Far Cry 3.
Yeah, exactly. When I was just thinking of that vampire thing, Infamous already did that vampire thing.
Yeah.
They made your main
I
character.
thought that's what you were
vampire.
referring to.
It wasn't, but like, how cool is that? And that's like that's appealing to a lot of other people who would say no to an Infamous game. You know, that's really cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think, less than, being a solution to annualized sequels, I think it's more of a solution to DLC. And it depends on the game, because some DLC is very much tied back into a main game, like Fallout. It's like, okay, you go off to this other place, but at the same time, you kind of bring all that stuff back into your main game. But other games, where the DLC is its own standalone chapter, then why not just sell that on its own?
I would love to see some anthology DLC series like this of The Order, where you go back into different time periods. And it's a completely different game, like medieval times, and you have a sword and you're like bashing people with swords. And
I still have this
cool idea.
secret hope that the Order is an episodic game, that they're just going to give us more episodes sometime down the road and not charge extra for them.
And not charge extra for them?
so crazy.
But
Yeah,
it's
like,
never going to happen.
How do I
That's like,
politely say that's insane? How do I politely do this?
it's like, oh, we just bought a season pass without knowing it.
Yeah, totally.
Oh, it would be a real nice
Surprise.
thing. So let's talk about some more GDC news. Talk about some VR headsets at the Game Developers Conference. Let's start with the new one, HTC's Vive.
Well, Steam and HTC, yeah, that's the
They
partnership.
partnered together to create this thing called Vive. And this is a crazy looking headset. To describe it, I would say, I guess we're all kind of used to seeing a big like rectangle on our faces. This one's covered with tiny little sensors. And what's more important about this is that there are two bars that you hold on to, like mushrooms. Like imagine holding on to two long mushrooms with flat tops on the mushrooms.
And then there are
Upside down joysticks.
sensors in the room, like
Yep.
high-end cameras that go on two little poles.
And the mushrooms are covered with sensors.
Yeah.
Everything's sensors. And this is positional tracking, basically. The idea is it does a better job of keeping track of where you are in your room.
Yeah.
And that's the
two
main
two
sell.
yoga mats worth of space that you walk around in.
Yeah. That is the appeal. Brandon does not look excited about this.
I just don't think we're there yet.
We're there, man.
I've had people screaming at me. They're just like, "You're wrong, man. I'm telling you."
We're getting there.
I'm screaming at you
Yeah,
right
we're,
now.
we're totally getting there, and it's super exciting.
This is it. It's here.
We're on the ground floor, Brandon Jones.
I need to get I need to jump back into the ring there, and I need to try this stuff out. I'm bummed I'm not at GDC this week.
Can I be honest about the vibe I'm getting, Brandon? It sounds like you don't even want to try it.
I'm not. I don't feel a need for that. I'm good.
Don't
Brandon,
communicate
tell
that
us,
though.
tell
How
us about
everything-
your motion sickness.
Every time, yeah. Well, there's that. I mean, like, there's the fact that the first time, and it's tough to go back. It's kind of like if you're in a car accident, you know, and then like for like years after that, like whenever you're crossing the street, you just look like two or three extra times. So I'm just curious. It's like I'm still gonna get the fear of just like, you know, my brain just not, you know, my brain and my stomach just being like, I don't know.
I think the impressions
gel
that I sent out, was it Rock, Paper, Shotgun? I forget who I even linked on that. But that was actually one of the things that they noted, is that like when they had gone out of the Oculus, like there was always this sense of relief that they were going out of it. Like they always felt discomfort while they were using it, and with the Vive, they didn't get that sense. Like
It's for people like you, Brandon. Yeah, it's to lessen the disconnect less and less and less. You know what I mean? It's to relieve that.
Not to sound like an old man about it, but like, and the other thing is, it just seems like it's kind of like when the Wii first came out, and it's like, oh, imagine if you were pitching, you know, a whole, you know, like a whole game of baseball, and I'm like, people don't do that. They actually only pitch like 6 innings and then they're done, you know. So like that sounds kind of stressful. And when if I come home and I'm relaxing, it just doesn't seem like, okay, time to hack into VR. Like we spend all day staring at monitors. That's what we do for a living. And so I just like going home and then putting the monitor like so close to my face and getting like 2 more hours of hardcore monitor time.
It makes me so scared. Like even the name Vive, it just makes me scared. Like this will be my life. This is just like, I'm gonna get this little VR world. I'm just gonna hang out with Croc for like from 9 p.m. till 6 a.m. the next morning, sleep for a half hour, then come to work. Like naming it Vive terrifies
Your brain's
me.
like so confused.
Yeah.
Like, I wonder what that's going to do to your brain if you like.
No, 'cause
if it's
brains-
nighttime, but you like put, you know, they have like light now that looks like the sun. Like you can build a skylight into your house that's like, it looks like it's day out right now.
Brains
Like,
are
that's
gonna
kinda
love the
Twilight
virtual
Zone
world.
to me.
Our brains are gonna be like, oh, this world rules.
I
Yeah.
tried the Samsung Gear, and it's a phone.
Yeah.
It's just a phone, and you
Right.
just stick it into the pod, and you put it on, and it was a guy in a San Francisco house playing on piano.
It was the guy, or you are the guy.
No, there's a guy standing there. You're inside of his living room. He's just playing on the piano. You're looking all around. It's his room. He's got equipment everywhere. And it is so crazy. You have to just feel it and see it to believe it. And it's that feeling, though, of when you take it off, you're transported back to reality. It's crazy. But I think live action, real video is more immersive than video games, honestly. I would love to see a hybrid where it's real people and then that kind of morphs into like a choose your own adventure type live action game.
I think it may be more. I think that could probably actually be the opposite. I feel like you could get into this uncanny valley problem, whereas the more abstract something is, the more real it feels because you're not comparing it as much to your depth perception and everything.
And like how old games age, like the games that took stronger artistic decisions, age better, basically.
But what I love about this whole thing is I still haven't even tried anything yet. I gotta see if I can use some of the other guys in the building. They have a Oculus. See when I can pop into that sometime. But I love that there's all this competition and there's all this talk because everyone is going to look across the table and step their game up, and it's going to get a lot better. Whereas I feel like that wasn't happening with like motion controls. Like it kind of came and it got a little bit better and then it went away.
Yeah. Well, a lot of actually that old motion control stuff is being implemented into this technology, which is crazy. I want to talk about what Sony brought up this week. They said the Morpheus is better now. It's got more lights on the front of it.
Which makes sense. And like I imagine this tech is progressing in very quick stages. So.
Yeah.
What's strange to me is that they haven't announced anything like different for the Move. Because like you're saying, the Vive has all these sensors on the controllers as well.
Yes.
Whereas the Move still just has the dumb little balls. Mm-hmm. And like, those things have never been great to me for certain functions, and to have them, moving around in the air, like there's still going to be issues because there's still just two huge balls instead of a bunch of little sensors on top of those balls.
Yeah, I mean, I doubt it'll launch with the balls. I doubt it'll launch with those Move controllers. I hope that there's still just like, these are the things we have right now. You know what's weird though? Sorry, this is outside the conversation. Just talking about like you and I just walking around in a real world space. We don't walk around like this. If we're holding a gun, we're like mostly holding it down at our sides. You know what I mean? We're not holding it up all the time. Like it's going to be annoying to just explore worlds constantly.
Well, no, there
with
was
your
the
arms
Dragon tech demo at E3 where you physically grab weapons off of a rack with Move controls.
And then do you put them down? Do you like put them?
You can put them down, yeah.
Oh, okay.
And then you're like bashing wooden dummies, and then this giant dragon comes down, and you're staring up at it.
All right, I'm convinced it won't be a problem. I'll be able to put my arms down when I want to.
Yeah.
Outside of that, I do want to talk about. So, like, remember HD DVDs versus Blu-ray? This whole HD disc race, basically, to become the one that is mostly adopted. I feel like we got a race coming on with VR. It's very exciting to me. It's cool that HTC comes in and says, hey, we have the best one suddenly. And Oculus is like, well, hold on. And so it's this is cool. My question is, do you think the best headset will win? Or do some of these companies have better advantages outside of just being the best tech? For instance, Sony's on a PlayStation. And so you just plug this into your PlayStation.
Exactly.
Oculus is like, oh yeah, Facebook bought us. We're really stupid rich. Do you know what I mean? Who's going to win this?
Yeah, I mean, I think the PlayStation is very largely responsible for Blu-ray getting the advantage. So I think that they will have advantage there, even though they're most likely technologically behind.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it does present a curious problem as to how does this become a standard one way or another? Because how well does it work if you don't have a good PC tower? It's an accessory to something else one way or another.
I just think it's kind of like WarioWare. WarioWare was cool.
WarioWare is cool.
But is WarioWare going to be like your mainstay game where you're just like, oh God, WarioWare? Gonna go home and just play a ton of that. It's like
you're right.
Everybody goes to these cons and it's like, oh man, did you see that one thing that VR did? And it's like, oh, that does sound like flying around in a little machine. That sounds like fun.
I don't think of it as niche yet. Though.
It's
We're
not
on the ground floor.
No. That's what I'm saying. We're on the ground floor, and people are saying like, no, the ground floor. No, we're on the top floor. We're on the the suite with martinis in our hands, and it's like we're not there yet. And I think you need something with the size of like a Dark Souls, where it's like. Yeah, my friend got it. He got it for his unit that he's playing at home. And, he won't shut up about this. Like, another week goes by, and, same game I'm playing him. Another week goes by, and it's, same game. Or something like the Stanley, not the Stanley Parable, or the, what was Ian's big game from last year?
Oh, Talos Principle.
Talos Principle.
Yeah.
The Stanley Principle. I'm like, this doesn't work. So something that it takes you forever, to get through, and people can keep the conversation going, as opposed to, like you were saying, you're just like, yeah, I picked up weapons, and I smacked a thing, and it was kind of fun. And it's just I just think we need to move so much farther than that. So you need and I know if broken record just be you need a killer app, and it's not just an app. You need that huge game.
You need Half-Life 3 launching with the Oculus on PC.
Well, launch with the Oculus now.
We'll launch it on HTC. Yeah.
But even so, let's think about Half-Life 3 realistically. I think you want. I don't know if you want to play that game with two weird bars.
There's no way I would. There's no way I would. And that's the other big difference for me. It's there's no way with tech 10 years from now that I would want to really be Gordon Freeman. There's such a relaxation for me that I've set up this barrier between me and this experience. And when I want, I can switch my brain on and off to believe that I'm actually Gordon Freeman in this moment. It'd be really, really tense. Playing GoldenEye. There's moments I can play GoldenEye I'm James Bond, man.
Nice.
And there are moments where it's it's 64. I love this system. And my ability to switch that on and off. And why I'm just a little reticent about VR is VR's you're all in. It's you're there the whole time, and it's I'm kind of tired. I don't feel I don't feel actually throwing a heist to GTA and being in the room and bullets are whizzing. But it's I worked all day. I just want to distance myself from the experience.
Human Revolution, you could play with multiple monitors in 3D. So I remember being on a street. My friend had this setup. You're on a street and there's an alleyway and you physically turn, and there's something about just that subtle motion that is more than pushing a joystick to the right to look over.
Yeah, I mean, people in video games only turn the same way they look, which is a funny thing.
Yeah.
You can't stand still and look to your right in a
Yeah.
video game.
Or
which is sort
if
of
you can, it feels really awkward, and then you're like, how do I get myself centered again?
yeah.
So yeah, it's like we're either making gameplay experiences, we're making stuff that actually simulates real life, and when we find that happy medium, that game experience, that it's like there's no way we wouldn't even be talking about a like, oh, is this coming to consoles? Like it would be impossible. There's no way you couldn't recreate this experience. You have to play this with voice commands or just by moving your head. Or
And do you think this is for first-person games only? Can you imagine playing a third?
Yeah,
person
I think I'd love
with-
it.
there was a platform.
There
version
are
of it
some,
free.
yeah.
Yeah, it was about that rabbit. I think his name is Lucky or something. I would love to wear the headset and honestly have a controller. That's like my ideal situation.
My
Just
only
like
my only
Morpheus. Yeah.
concern is whether that would again screw with your head in terms of motion sickness. Like if your head tracks, but then you also have a camera control. It's like,
I don't even need the head tracking. Honestly, I just need to just be there and
Yeah.
not like hear any of my neighbors.
Well, Morpheus also had the space game. You're in a spaceship and you're playing with the
DualShock 4?
DualShock, but you
Okay.
can also look around
That's cool.
in the cockpit.
Because I think
Okay, yeah, that sounds.
I think
palatable.
that's actually, again, as we learned with the Wii, like that's key for a longer experience, right? Like one of the things that always bugged me is when people said like, I can't play shooters on the Wii because my arm gets tired. I was like, well, you don't hold your arm up like this the whole time you're shooting at the screen if you're going to play a full first-person shooter.
Yeah.
It's like, you just, get your wrists on your lap in a good position where you're just, moving it around kind of like a mouse. But people just like, they had the light gun perception and they couldn't get past that.
As always, best advice is get good.
Okay.
So Source 2 is now free. Unreal Engine is now free. Huge announcements. Both, oh my gosh, what a weird world we live in where you can start making games for free.
I didn't look into this one as deeply, but are there like a million caveats to the free thing?
Here are the big caveats. All right, so Steam. Yeah, you can make a game on Source 2 for free. The caveat is that you must put it on the Steam store. And of course, if you put your game on Steam, they take 30% of revenue.
It's a big chunk.
That's a big chunk. I think it's comparable to what you would get taken away on Xbox Live or PlayStation Network. The Unreal, they just take 5% off your total revenue, no matter where you post it.
Okay. Yeah, so, because I think, I want to say CryEngine has done this kind of thing forever, where like anyone could start using CryEngine.
But, right. Yeah.
But if as you start selling it, then you have to give them a revenue share or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, it was actually 1 year ago on this show where we talked about Unreal's subscription service. They were just going to do, I think, $20 a month or something like that. And now they're just like, not free. We still want that 5%, but it's completely free. Oh, I should mention with Steam, you have to put it on the Steam store. It doesn't have to be exclusive to the Steam store. You can put it anywhere you want as long as Steam is one of those places you put it on.
Interesting.
Though, I mean, Source 2 is not as easy to port over to other consoles and things like Unreal is.
So you can put it on Steam and make your own website and sell it from there? Or just sell it anywhere?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, or Good Old Games.
Yeah.
You could just put it up on Good Old Games as well as it's also on Steam.
Awesome.
That is really awesome, I feel like. Do you think these decisions, making game building software, will have long-term implications on the world of video games, is my question. Brandon nods yes. Why do you think that?
Is that the way to get in the conversation first?
Yeah, I always look for eye contact first.
Right.
First for eye contact. If someone looks confused, I'm like, okay, I'm not going there right now. And Brandon at least got sure answer. What's up, Brandon? Why?
What was the question?
How are video games going to change forever because of these two things being free?
Two things. One, I kind of look at it like how like websites were in the 90s, where it's like, wow, you got a website? Well, cool. Right? You're really actually, you're going to make some T-shirts or whatever. Like, congratulations, you got your business going. And now it's like, yeah, make a website, whatever. It's just a question if you have like a good website or not.
Yeah.
But like being good at making websites isn't as like, god tier as it was like in the 90s or the late 80s. I think it's basically the same setup now, whereas like 10, 20 years from now, making a game, making like some 3D game is something that like is going to be taught in like high schools and like kids are going to know just how to do. So it's going to be the next level of that, which brings me to number 2, which would be exciting, is if you developed a game, something like Star Citizen, where it's like, it'd be interesting if they added some kind of dev pool on top of that where like people could make their own planets and space stations, kind of like what they want to do with EverQuest Next. Isn't that setup where people can just go off and make their own little worlds?
It is
And
like,
then
it's like
Sony
building
Online like
in
sifts
EverQuest.
through it. I guess
Yeah.
it's not Sony Online anymore. Who's got EverQuest now?
I
Do we
can't
know?
remember the name of that weird new
it's-
company.
I can't remember their name. It's
Yeah.
the same people, but it's a different name.
Yeah.
So they make their own stuff, and then they're just like, no, we don't like your castle. Get out of here. Or
Yeah.
you're like, okay, yeah, you abided by all the rules. Same with Toy Box with Disney. That they sift through all the submissions, and they're like, yep, you went by all the rules. So thanks, cool. We get free new content added to our game, made by people using the same tools. That'll get better and better and better at it.
I don't feel like this is in any way changing the industry or anything like that. I feel like this is them responding to where the market has been. And, 5 years ago, last generation, Unreal was all over the place. Square Enix was using Unreal and EA was using Unreal and everybody was using Unreal. And now EA has shifted to their own...
Frostbite?
Frostbite, yeah, they've shifted to their own stuff. A lot of other people have shifted. A lot of the indies are using Unity, like Unity's everywhere.
Because Unity is easy to port. I think that's the greatest appeal there.
So I think that really, this is what they have to do to compete. They've seen that, people aren't picking up Unreal Engine 4 the way they picked up 3. So they've got to do something to start, getting people using that software again, because, that's a huge revenue stream that they just lost.
That's really interesting. So Blood's feeling is they had no choice, really. Hubert, do you agree with that?
Yeah, I'm kind of in the middle of both of you guys. I think somewhere down the line, more people making games, flooding the market, just is more creativity and just challenging the industry. The big guys to the little guys have to take notice of that and adapt.
So when I was thinking about this morning, I was thinking about like music software is similarly much easier to just hop in on now than it was 10 years ago. You can make very professional sounding music. However, it hasn't changed music very much. Do you know? And so then I'm thinking, maybe Kyle, that's too constricted. Like think of a high school student like just picking up a guitar and learning to play guitar, and then that high school student becomes like a rock star eventually. Now that high school student can pick up Unreal and just mash away at it night by night and just become a game development rock star. And I think that's probably the most exciting thing about this to me.
The most exciting thing is someone just unofficially making Half-Life 3.
Unofficially making Half-Life 3.
Unofficially just
Has
changing,
that not been done yet?
changing
I have
the-
a feeling that's probably been
changing
done.
the names of certain characters and just doing it, just getting it done. Let's go.
So it's like Horde and Greeman.
Horde and Greeman.
Uh-huh. And like, what is this game about?
The just natural progression, natural continuation.
The unofficial natural continuation.
Exactly.
It's not going to make a soul
Instead of the
happy.
Combine, it's the
You pick up right after the super happy ending to
Combination.
episode 2. It's all sunshine and rainbows.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I feel like obviously most of what will come out of it is going to be like flooded, nothing great, nothing to just sing about, but it's just cool that people can train here, I think, is probably the best thing. And people are creating, and just you get better every time you create.
live.
Project Spark not enough for you, Pop?
Project Spark is not enough for me. Nope. Shoot. Let's go to some bad news for a moment. Maxis Emeryville has been shut down by EA. This is the studio who had previously made the most recent SimCity game.
The studio has been around since 1987. That made the first SimCity game.
So Maxis Emeryville is Maxis, basically.
Yes.
Got it. And so they made Sim Ant and
Yes.
Sim Tower. And originally The Sims.
Depressing.
Yes.
Yeah. The Sims will go on without Maxis Emeryville. Most likely, most other Sim games will not appear again. And if they do, they're going to be weird little mobile games that aren't officially like that Maxis heart.
So was some EA guy just like, we're gonna take it in a new direction? Was that basically the conversation?
Some EA guy. No, I mean, if we look at what SimCity was, it's hard to call that a success for EA.
Right.
Yeah.
If,
Well, I don't know if you'd call it a success for anyone, really. It was a real mess. It was a real mess, and then they spent a year fixing it, and then nobody cared once they did.
yeah.
And
Yeah. Sims 3 to me was the beginning of the end.
Okay, why?
Because you had Sims 1, and I had a close friend of mine that was really into Sims 1. He tried to get me into Sims Online.
Yeah.
And they had a lot of great content, and the game had like a ton of personality. And Sims 2 kind of went into some curious directions. Like what was really great about Sims 1 is you could get really, really detailed with your place, and you just have control over a lot of stuff. And it seemed like the series, like SimCity and Sims, were moving less out of the simulation game, and maybe they felt they had to, and getting more into something that was more just easy to use and like didn't give you all the details, because what are you going to do with all that stuff? And it's like, well, really customize, really decide like what I want things to be. Like I don't necessarily need this game experience to be quicker. I just want it to be deeper. And they kind of made it like quicker and easier.
Yeah.
And I remember like seeing Sims 2 when that first came out, and was like, oh my God, this is cool. It's fun to see like a generation progression. It was like PlayStation 1 to PlayStation 2. Like, wow, these are actually like starting to look like normal people and stuff. And then 2 to 3 was like, it looked like the exact same game. Like it was kind of like Street Fighter 4 to 5. Like you have to see them next to each other. And you're like, oh yeah, okay, yeah.
Whoa, Street Fighter 4. Okay, hold on.
No, not that, like it's like your brain knows it's better, but
Sure.
you don't really feel the full depth of it. I'm not saying 5 doesn't look better than 4. It's just like it wasn't until somebody like put both Chun-Li's next to each other, and I was
you're
like,
right.
oh yeah, you're right. It looks
Street
way
Fighter
better.
3 to 4 is crazy.
Yeah.
A downgrade in some sense, but also like a huge difference. I get what you're saying.
And I think if you just had played SimCity 30 years ago, SimCity first came
Not
out,
quite 30.
or like more than 20 at least. And you just imagine like the scale of the series. Like, wow, if I can do this now, imagine the crazy city and detail I'll have. And it's like, it hasn't done that. It just hasn't grown that way. I don't know. It's just not the SimCity or Sims I thought we were going to be.
Yeah, I think that's
2015.
and that was the biggest problem. With, like, as fun or whatever as SimCity was, at the end of the day, no matter what, it still felt lesser than previous games.
Especially if you're rebooting it too. It's not like SimCity
Right.
5, or what would it? SimCity 5?
It's hard because they went to like 2000.
Yeah, they did a lot of different things. But yeah, I think what killed Sims to me in a way was the whole expansion mentality, and like they just kept putting out those packs.
Oh, they're gonna keep doing that.
And then, but what I'm saying is, when they went to the next game, they had the exact same expansion packs. It was like, you're doing the pets again.
Yeah.
Yeah, but now in Sims 3, so there's more community aspect to it or something. I don't really know what the appeal of Sims 3 was.
It's more your personal character in Sims 3. That's why I disagree with you guys, because
Okay.
Sims 1 was all about the house. It was such basic character things. It was, here's your job, go to work.
It was more than about the house. It was, hey,
That was the predominant feature of the early Sims games, and now it's about relationships and family and hanging out, and it still has all the great customization, but Sims 4 is a little rough. They didn't have pools, and the whole expansion pack mentality is a little ridiculous, but I don't know, I really enjoyed Sims 3, and I think with 4 they maybe tried, like SimCity, they tried to go bigger but lost something by doing that. It's like maybe they should go back to their roots, kind of like Rock Band.
yeah. The difference there though is like EA's like they're okay with the Sims. They're like, yeah, we're gonna keep the Sims going. That team's not breaking up, and we're happy with that
It
money.
sells.
Yeah. My question is like a game like SimCity has a very particular appeal, I think, for a very particular type of game time. Does a game like that have any value to EA at this point? Huge EA who needs big numbers from every single game. And before I add the question mark to the end of that sentence, it's because I feel like SimCity was created in a certain way where it could generate money. I think that a lot of like, hey, EA needs us to make a lot of money out of this game, so we got to do this and this and this. I think a lot of that influenced it. Our ideal vision of what SimCity is, does that game work for a company like EA anymore?
You know what they should do?
What?
Monopoly Plus. Look at Monopoly Plus.
Go on.
Look at the price. Look at the aesthetic. Do that with SimCity. Have a $20 PSN Xbox Live game and go back to the roots. Don't have all these crazy features. Make it a little more simple.
But the thing is, Hubert, they're basically saying they're not going to do that. They just fired everybody.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like, was that the right call, Blood?
I don't know. Like, EA's been doing this to studio after studio that they've acquired over the years, and this is one that probably hurts more than a lot. I mean, and you talk about like the mass market appeal. Let's not forget, SimCity was basically installed on everybody's work computer at one point in time. Like it was almost as
you have it
pervasive
on your work?
as Solitaire. It was everywhere.
Get a
you
laptop
play on
and
your
play
work
that
computer?
game.
No, I didn't have it on. Well, I guess actually at one point there was a place I was working that was on a work computer for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was, it was everywhere. It was on the Super Nintendo. It was a great version of the game.
And this was a game in which you had to create plumbing for your buildings. Yeah. It was so technical. It is so technical. It's still you can still go play this game and create plumbing.
I feel like in a way, and it's probably just like they're not structured the same way. I feel in an ideal world, what would have happened would have been similar to the Harmonix situation. So where like EA's like, hey, Maxis, you know what? This stuff isn't really working out for us. Go off and do your own thing again. But, who knows, however their business structure and them owning the names and all that stuff now, they're just like, well, this isn't making money, goodbye.
SimCity Plus.
$20 next fall.
So yeah, it sucks.
It sucks. It hurts.
It'd be nice to have people who like really revitalize all of that and be creative again. SimAnt, man.
When will we see a SimCity game again? Ever?
Oh, let's do. I'll say 5 years.
5 years.
I'll say we'll have a SimCity game in 5 years. Right. Lock that in. Let's do some news bits. Let's go into bits.
I want to see you
Sims
set a
2020.
reminder on your phone for that.
For 5 years from now.
Oh no, I won't.
Check.
No, I win most of my bets. I just forget that I win them. Xbox Live and ID at Xbox are coming to Windows 10. Basically, Phil Spencer came out this week at GDC, announced that there's going to be a lot of like cross-play, cross-buy opportunities with Windows and Xbox One. Blood has a very peculiar expression on his face. What is that?
I don't know what to think about these things. Like it's been they've said this so many times. Like it sounds great. It looks like it's working, but it just we had the Vista thing. We had the Games for Windows Live
Games for
thing.
Windows Live. Ugh.
Describe Games for Windows Live for anyone who's not familiar with why that was not working correctly.
It was like supposed to be on par with the Xbox, the same infrastructure, same friends list, but then like you get into a game and then you do have this stupid prompt and you have to sign into Games for Windows Live and then like you get the achievements popping up. But then games wouldn't work if it couldn't sign in, and then
weird.
They abandoned the whole thing, and everybody had to patch it out. Or if they didn't have the money to patch it out, then your game didn't work.
So you're still feeling scorned. You're nervous that this is another thing that won't last, is what you're saying.
Yeah, it's like how are you going to get everybody to get on? And then this thing about the Windows Store, like how is this going to coexist with Steam? It's going to be weird.
Yeah, because the whole Games for Windows Live, certain games had to be Games for Windows Live. Now there's so many, like all these Steam games. How is that going to tie into all this?
It's going to be hard to win over Steam users, you think?
Yeah.
Well, is it appealing that you could play the same game on your tablet and your PC and your Xbox One for the price of one game?
Of course, cross-buy is appealing.
Yeah. I think that's innately appealing. I think that's a cool thing to announce. I don't think they'll get rid of that. Do you know what I mean?
Well, no, that they'd have to. I mean, if you bought something and it works on any platform, you have to kind of honor that.
Yeah. I don't think that will go away. Hopefully not. But I get what you're meaning. Because even if you're on your PC playing it, you want to be playing in your Steam ecosystem. I hate that word, but yeah, that's what it is. Like, I want to have my Steam friends list. I don't want my...
There's so many games on Steam.
Well, maybe it really comes down to what friends list is most appealing to you. Because if you're on Windows 10 now, you have your Xbox Live friends list now on your Windows. I get that. It's a strange thing. I guess it is a thing. We'll wait and see how effective it is and what it means to us. PlayStation 4 has sold through 20.2 million consoles. That's 1 point something more than last time we checked in December. That's a lot. They're just still selling. I never know what to do about sales figures.
It's still going.
It's still going.
It's what it is.
It is what it is. It's doing great.
It's not slowing down.
It's not slowing down. Gosh, I mean, that's kind of unprecedented. Let's do it while you're the one who started this conversation. It's from one of my favorite names that we have from our commenters. This is from Acid Trip 69.
It's an old school guy.
Yeah. GTA 5 for PC has been delayed again. If the game does come out on April 14th, it will be 1 year and 7 months from the time it first came out. I'm getting really tired of Rockstar treating us PC gamers as third-class citizens. So what I'm going to do is wait 1 year and 7 months before I buy the PC version of GTA 5. Rockstar will get my money someday, but not as much as they would have liked. I know me doing this will not hurt sales, but I must do it. Am I bad for feeling this way? Am I being stupid for doing this? What are your thoughts, GT Time crew? We'll like to add that we never got Red Dead Redemption on PC. That's still a bit annoying. Question to the panel. Is Acid Trip 69 bad for feeling this way? Is Acid Trip 69 stupid for doing this?
No.
No. But if you really want to play GTA 5,
Then just buy it, right?
then just get it.
Why wait
not-
another year and 7 months? Why be spiteful against this company
Exactly.
that is giving you a video game?
Yeah, Rockstar doesn't need, if you buy it a year and 7 months, it might be $40 by then instead of $60. So you're hurting yourself more than not giving Rockstar $20. They don't need your $20.
A year and 7 months from April, we're gonna see new GTA stuff or new Red Dead Redemption stuff.
Yeah, Red Dead
Hopefully,
Redemption not
fingers
on
crossed.
PC. That's
Yeah.
unacceptable.
Yeah.
What happened there?
Yeah, that's surprising. I
Wow.
never stopped to think about that.
Isn't that crazy? I think Rockstar says we have enough money that's too much work, we don't want to do it. I think that's honestly why they
of
didn't put that
course.
game on PC. They're set. Sometimes a person can be too rich to motivate. And so I think at that point they're like, hey, we made a lot of money off Red Dead Redemption, not worth the work. Sorry, we're moving on. So I think it's a good thing that this is even coming to PC. But yeah, a year and 7 months.
To play devil's advocate, to take Rockstar's side on this, I think they're not treating PC like second-class citizens. I think they are focusing on consoles to squeeze the maximum amount of potential and quality out of those systems and then moving on to PC and squeezing the maximum amount of potential on PC. Yeah, it's taken a lot longer than it should have, but I think by the time it comes out on PC, it's going to be well worth the wait. I saw the system requirements and they're really low. The recommended specs are incredibly low. It only needs an i5. It's really shocking to me. I remember when I got GTA 3 on PC, it was just chunky, couldn't run, needed a supercomputer. And this seems really accessible to a lot of PC users out there. So I think that's maybe why they took so much time, is because it's accessible and the requirements aren't that high.
Oh, I
They're
see what you're
optimizing
saying.
it,
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, honestly, Blood, correct me if I'm wrong. This is how I'm feeling. They're going based off where they'll make the most money.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, they sold a ton of copies of 8th gen version of this game.
Yeah,
this
I mean,
fall.
they sold them and then they sold them all over again.
And so, yeah, here's what I feel. I feel like Acid Trip 69, you can't fault Rockstar for chasing the most money and where they will make the most money. And that has been on consoles.
Delays have never made me angry. I'm always just bummed. I'm always just sad.
Sure, yeah.
It's like when someone passes, you're just like, oh, I thought I was gonna be playing that this summer. Oh, it's like I thought I was like, oh, the last Batman game's gonna come out in October. My favorite months is Halloween. It's like October's gonna be the greatest. And it was like next summer, oh. I wasn't like Rocksteady. What the heck,
You're
so
right. Good point.
I've just never categorized it. But that's just me. I'm
Yeah.
not saying that's the way you should act, but I've just never categorized delays until I'm angry with you, developer. Now
Yeah.
I'm not gonna buy your game.
But
It's no, we're still making it. It's just we unforeseen circumstances.
But
They-
I can
yeah.
understand the frustration though if you're like him and you're primarily a PC gamer. And it's
Yeah,
well, Metal Gear Phantom Pain was announced 2 weeks later on PC.
right.
They-
that just
they
seems
announced-
spiteful, right?
They
In that
announced the
case.
release date.
Yeah.
And starting on the 1st. I'm like, what is that starting? And then I see,
Yeah.
the PC version is on the 15th. And it's so strange because if you know that this far in advance, why not just put everything on the 15th?
Can I have a weird theory? I think that they want to optimize console sales.
Yeah,
I
sure.
think that's why they're releasing it 2 weeks earlier on consoles.
Am I wrong in thinking that they're getting a higher margin out of the PC sales?
I
Since they're not
think-
paying the console manufacturers?
I think piracy is still an issue that publishers look at and it grosses them out and gives them the heebie-jeebies.
So that's it. It's like
I think
getting
that's
people
it.
to pay it instead
Oh,
of
yeah.
download it.
Yeah, I think that's what that is. I can't speak for publishers, obviously, but I think that's where they're coming from. Boy, do they, it gives them the creepy crawlies. Let's talk about bets. Last week, we should do this week's bet. I'm excited about this one. Here's what's coming out next week. DMC, what is it called? Definitive Edition.
Definitive.
It's not a remaster. This is the definitive edition of this
Definitive.
game. Huber, you nod. Like, this is really the definitive.
This is the definitive edition.
Why? What makes this definitive? To anyone who's hearing this for the first time, oh, they're doing a new DMC? What is this? How would you
60
respond to this?
frames, you can walk onto your enemies, you have different modes, a ton of different modes, new ranking system, Bloody Palace, all the DLC, Virgil.
What is Bloody Palace?
Bloody Palace is like 100 floors of increasingly harder enemies.
And DMC 3, right? Or doesn't it have
What?
Doesn't it have like a retro version included, or is it
DMC 4 is coming
DMC
out.
4.
It was
later.
weird. They did make that in the
Yeah.
same trailer, which is probably a bad call.
There's
Yeah.
everything.
That those two
Confusion.
announcements happened in the same
Oh,
trailer.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it was funny. I remember I was in GameStop and Andrea was on the TVs talking about like the new difficulty modes. Oh yeah, good for you, Andrea. So that's coming out next week. What will the user score for this game be on Metacritic for the PlayStation 4 version we'll use? We've never bet, to any fans of the show, we've never bet on user score before. But here's the reason why I want to do this one. The user score for the PlayStation 3 version of this game is at 5.2. It's at 5.0 for Xbox 360, considerably higher on PC. But we're looking at comparing PlayStation 3 to PlayStation 4 right now. What will the user score of this game be? Michael Huber in the super seat. It is actually your turn to choose whether you want to go first or last.
Last.
Okay. Daniel Bloodworth, what is the user score for DMC Definitive Edition going to be on PlayStation 4?
Go with 6.8.
Considerably higher. Brandon Jones.
6.
I'm going with 7.2. Damn. Huber, you willing to go higher than
What
7.2?
platform?
That's so
PlayStation
funny.
4.
My original bet was 6.8. Damn it, Bloodworth.
You picked first or last.
You can thread the needle here. You can get in between that 6.8 and 7.2.
I'm going to say 6.7.
6.7. Let me lock those in. Huber, I love how strategic you are about your bets. It's going to come into play when I reveal the results of last week.
I was
hope there's
looking at, like any good bettor, any good gambling man, gotta do a little research. I was looking at, like Last of Us remaster,
Oh, okay.
GTA remaster.
What are you noting from those trends?
The Last of Us was 8.8 user score.
Uh-huh.
So I was like, if The Last of Us is an 8.8,
It's not going to get much higher than
it's
that.
not. It's going to be way lower.
Yeah.
Well, what was
so-
the remaster though? Or is that,
That
The
was
remaster was
8.8.
8.8.
That's absurd. You're just being spiteful at that point, users.
So
You give Last of Us an 8.0. Okay, not going to get into scores.
So-
Last week we bet on how many edits would be made to the Dragon Ball Xenoverse Wikia page between last week's recording and this week's recording. Huber, do you have a bet? Do you have any idea how many edits would be made on the main?
like 15.
Okay, well, at least bet for you 12, which is pretty close actually. Blood, you bet 16. Brandon Jones, you bet 8. I bet 4. The actual number of edits to the Dragon Ball Xenoverse Wikia page,
Like 50.
45.
Oh my gosh.
45 edits.
45? That's pretty high.
Yeah, it's very high. More than the week before it. So that, of course, means Blood wins. It gets a point. Can I tell you what happened, though? Here's what I was so excited. My plan coming in was, Kyle, just go one higher than the highest. Then you're going to win this one. You're going to win this one. I got this. I said I want to go last. Something happened. Elise said 12. Blood said 15. Brandon Jones said 8. And something happened. I said 4. 4. I'm going to flip it.
What?
I don't know what happened. So I lose again. Bloodworth wins again. Super seat now it's 3 points. Bloodworth with 4. Brandon Jones 1. Kyle Bossman 1. Bloodworth, as the winner of the bet, you may now promote any video you want and also close us out.
Yeah. Well, the thing I'm working on, I don't know if it'll be up in time. So, he'll basically win because you guys who watch episode 2 of Huber Hype, that's real good. Big improvement on the last one. And I think, yeah, definitely. I like the backgrounds. The backgrounds have been a source of contention, but it's pretty good stuff.
What is Huber Hype?
Huber Hype is Huber's new show. He just picks a topic and, goes through a bunch of examples and tells you why you should be excited for it.
When do those go up?
So they go up on Tuesdays.
Cool.
If I remember to send Matt Blair headlining copy.
Right?
And massive.
Well, it still went up on Tuesday. It just went up a little later.
Baby steps.
But thank you guys for watching this week's episode. Here are our Twitter handles. Let us know what Kyle got wrong in the comments below, and we'll see you next week.
Blood's done so many of those, it's just natural for him to close out the show.
I love towers.